Well, welcome back, runners. Still sitting here on Chris's bench with Chris Solinsky, American record holder, North American record holder in the 10,000 meters, and also the only man over 141 pounds to break the 27-minute mark in the 10,000. We think that's kind of funny, I think, the two of us, because I'm 3 inches shorter than you, but I'm also about 165 pounds. So we are in the same. We're in the same boat.
Yep.
And I've actually I used that as an excuse once, and somebody really hit me on it. I said, well, I finished second, but the guy that beat me was 120 pounds, and everybody says, oh, so that's your excuse now. That's So that's let's start there. We're going to talk about your training and just kind of racing strategy. And since you are a bigger guy compared to other people, is it to affect your training? Do you have to do different things, like in terms of your strength?
Well, in terms of like lifting and stuff like that, I kind of cut back from what everyone else does, because just the way my body type has been, genetics I've gotten, it doesn't take me lifting much at all, and I kind of bulk up. I went all of 2009. I went without lifting anything, and I was kind of bulked up a little bit in 2008. And then I didn't do any lifts or anything. I just did kind of like core exercise and abs and stuff. And I lost a lot of the mass in my upper body. And now we're kind of trying to just, last year and this year, introduce lifting on a lower level. Basically in terms of just like muscle memory type stuff. And like I'll do the same lifts as the guys, but probably 15 pounds or so less. But I focus more on like, say we're doing like a lat pull down, like just really almost trying to break the bar with the hands, like that's how much squeezing. And then same thing with the abs, like just make sure everything is super fired, as if I'm lifting like everything that I could lift and maxing out, but that it's lighter, and so that way you're kind of getting that muscle memory, lifting but not having to lift as much.
So you're going more for fatigue and strength rather than
bulk.
Yep,
exactly.
Power.
Yep.
Yeah. So you got plenty of power.
Yeah.
And we know that, right?
Yeah.
And so, what is a typical training week like for you now? I mean, how much? And I don't mean off season, because it is sort of off season. But I mean, what would a week be made up of in terms of speed work and running on the road and things like that?
Typical week is exhausting.
Sure.
Actually, right about now is kind of our hardest period. So we're, on average, I'm up to about 120 miles a week. Anywhere from 120 140, because I don't know if anyone knows the Badger Mile system. So that's
Wisconsin stuff.
So yeah, the bulk of our group, the nucleus of our group, I would say, is from University of Wisconsin. That's where we met our coach and everything, and we just had a system of what we call Badger Miles, and everything was based off 7-minute pace. So no matter how fast you're running, you count it off of 7-minute pace. So if you're doing a 35-minute run, it's 5 miles. 70-minute run is 10 miles. And everything is run up to the nearest 5. So if you're saying you do a 50-minute run, normally it would be 49, but 50s. Let's see, 60 is the ultimate ripoff, because you're doing 56 minutes for 8 miles, but you have to count 60 for 8 miles. And so basically it just allows us to, wherever we go training, we don't have to worry about how far anything is. And we know we're always going to at least run 7-minute pace, and usually faster. So generally when we say running 120 miles a week, on any given week it can be anywhere from exactly 120 to about 140. So a lot of miles, and then in between those miles is doing like a long tempo run. Our long runs aren't anymore just getting out and running, it's up pace, up tempo, anywhere from 6 minutes down to 5 minutes for 21 miles.
Do you do any mileage when you just don't care about the pace, when it's totally easy?
In between the workouts. So we'll work out 3 sometimes 4 times a week, and then the rest of the days is just run how you feel.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
So you're working out 7 days a week, or
running every day of the week? Yes. Yep. And I'm a little bit different than a lot of the guys in the group. A lot of the guys in the group will plan an easy day, or an easy run. Like I'll probably 4 to 5, maybe even 6 days a week, sometimes 7 when we don't have as many of the strength workouts and I'm still trying to hit the mileage. So sometimes 7 days a week, and I pretty much run the same effort every single day. Some days that is 6:30, 7-minute pace. Some days that's 5:30, 6-minute pace. So
how is that? explain that, how the effort can be the same but the pace is different.
Well, a lot of times, you can be coming at, like Wednesday, we did a 10-mile tempo run, and I was really, really tired yesterday.
Sure.
So yesterday, definitely, the effort was about 6:30, 6:40 pace, but it was the same effort, same, just getting out there and, obviously the first 10 minutes you're warming up, like it'll be a little slower, but then you just get into what feels like the same effort. And I was definitely tired and fatigued yesterday, so the same effort was not nearly as fast.
Right.
But today felt a lot better, and so ran the same effort, but it was a lot quicker.
So it was the perception of your intensity.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's always my effort is always the same on the normal days, but yeah, the pace is always all over the place.
That's interesting. And on your speed workout, or quality workouts, how do you? What if it's a day when you're completely trashed, but you have to hit particular paces and things? Are you still trying to hit those paces on the track, or?
Generally, yes. But if we're at a point where, say you're digging a hole, getting yourself to a point
Fatigued.
where you're over fatigued and you're going to be causing yourself more damage than good, then we'll pull the plug. Otherwise, we kind of have the term of otherwise you're feeling sorry for yourself, and you're tired, but you can still get in the work, and that's our biggest motto, I would say, is just get the work in. But you have to, that's the part of the amount that we've run over the last 10 years or so. You learn where that point is, of that you can kind of say the same as races, that red line is, where if you go past that red line, you're in trouble. So it's like you learn to ride that red line, and some days you may not want to push to that red line, and you're tired, and that's when you're feeling sorry for yourself, and that's when you just got to get the work in. And you may not be feeling good, but you just got to get the work in, because you'll be thankful later on down the road.
How close do you get to your race pace, like what we might consider red line in your workouts? Do you ever hit it, or do you go faster than it, or?
It depends on the workout. If we do a grass session, we'll probably be good, like with mile and 2 mile repeats, will be a good 5 to 10 seconds per quarter slower than race pace. If we're on the track and doing short stuff, we'll be significantly under. But if we're on the track doing race specific, then that's a lot of muscle memory. So the repeats may be long, but they're probably not going to be longer than a mile, and that'll be at race pace, just to try to get the muscles used to going that pace. And we'll do probably the same amount of work, if not a little bit more than the total that we're racing, but it'll be chopped up into a very obtainable distance of the intervals. I don't know. So the length of the intervals is chopped up, but the total distance of the workout is as long, if not longer, than the race.
Yeah. So a lot of our people that are marathon runners, they hate doing speed work, and they say, why do I need to run that fast?
Yeah.
Right. And you're not running marathons, but you're running 6 miles, right? And you're still taking the distance down into little increments, because you're trying to make yourself more efficient at those speeds. How low do you go in terms of the shortest intervals you might do? Do you go down to hundreds and 50s?
We'll do 200s.
200s.
I mean, before races, we'll do what we call a cleanup workout, and sometimes we'll do 150 excels, whereas it would just start out as kind of like a controlled stride, and then by the time you get to like the home stretch, or like 70, 80 meters, then you kind of turn it on and pick it up. But in terms of like a sustained, even effort, the shortest we'll go is 200 meters.
And the longest you might go on a track session? 2 miles?
I think the longest I've ever gone for a track session, like a race-specific track session, has been 2K.
2K?
Yeah.
Okay. 2,000 meters?
Yep.
Okay.
So, but I mean, yeah, obviously for a marathon it would be much different. I'm trying to think back to what the guys in the marathon this fall did. I know that, for the marathon they were doing, on the road, they were doing up to 18-mile tempo runs at race pace.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, I think that it was the max distance for race pace.
Yeah, that's a surprise, because, not a surprise to me, but to a lot of people, they think that they need to run 22, 24 miles. And I know Shalane Flanagan, I think, was saying that she had done 18 as her longest before New York last year.
Yep.
And a lot of people went, what? 18
Yeah.
miles? That's, leaving yourself 8 miles short. But the principles are the same. We know that if you're hitting the intensity for that long,
Yep.
we can keep going if we're fueling properly and things like
Exactly,
that.
yeah. The one philosophy we always have is to be able to cut the workout at a point where you can keep going. If you've hit that point where you're like, I can't do anymore, you've gone a little bit too far.
Yeah.
So no matter what we do, we're always focused on making sure that, like, whether it's a 10K specific workout, whether it's a marathon for Shalane and the guys this fall, like the 18 miler.
Yeah.
Jerry wanted them at a point where they could finish that 18 miler and at least go a couple more miles.
Right.
Know that they can go a couple more miles.
Yeah.
And if they hadn't, then they still got the work in, but they knew, they need to get a little more fit to be able to get themselves to the point where they know they can keep going.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a big mental game. I would say it's no matter what distance you're running, it's always a constant mental battle.
Well, we were talking about that earlier about different tracks and how some feel bigger, because there's more lanes, the wider corners, the stadiums, and even that we know that it's the same distance, but it feels different, doesn't it?
It's perceived and looks different, and it can be intimidating.
Yeah. Why is that? What do you think? I mean,
well, I've always said that myself in particular, and I would. Maybe it's unfairly lumping a lot of distance runners in there. We're all head cases. You kind of have I feel like you kind of have to have a few screws loose to voluntarily do this sport. I would say I definitely do. So.
Well, that's let me ask you our question then. We did an episode a couple of years ago called the Pain episode. Coach Dean and I debated what the most painful distance is, because we thought people would say, oh, the marathon. Our agreement was the 1500. But what would you think? Because I know you've run some of these short distances that are really painful.
I know that, to me, my least favorite distances, one of them is my least and favorite. My least favorite distance is the 800, because it's just an all-out sprint, but it's too long. It's brutal. You're gonna hit the wall and hit it bad. And then the next worst I think is the 5,000, because the pace that we're getting down to, you're only slowing down from your mile pace by like a second or two per lap, maybe even a second, and you're doing it 3 more times. And so it's like, from the gun, you're redlining and you feel terrible. You feel a lot of pain from the start. And so, yeah, for me, that, like, you can't settle in anymore into the 5K. And that's why I like the 10K, because I can get out and just be like, oh, okay, I'm settled. And just run
for
that
at least
settled
a couple
pace.
miles.
Yes, and the 5 is a lot. Yeah.
Well,
it's a painful distance.
when we're training our runners, we're always telling them 5K versus 10K pace, like 4 seconds per lap, and that's a significant difference, right? That's backing it off, right?
Yep.
And I don't know if you're probably not that much slower. It might be a couple.
Well,
seconds.
I think it's about, last year anyway, it turned out to be about 2 seconds, because I think the Stanford 10K was a 64 point, and then running 62s for the 5K. And that was intimidating, even coming off the 10K. It gave me confidence, but I'm like, man, I'm picking it up, 2 seconds from here. Like that, this felt fairly comfortable for a while, but that, picking up 2 seconds per lap is quite a bit. Yeah.
Well, it's 8 seconds a mile.
Yeah.
Right? It starts really adding up.
Yeah, exactly.
In terms of effort.
Yeah.
It's that 160 pounds that you got to overcome.
Try to efficiently get it around the track.
Going,
right? And I've always been a person that I always try to remember where I started, and even at the end of high school, like, I was able to get pretty fast times, but I remember running 407, 408 for miles and feeling like it was like all out. And now it's like that's the pace that I run for a 5K. So it's like, that never escapes me, where how far I've come, what was seemed impossible just for 1 mile, and now I'm able to do it for 3 miles. So it's.
What do you think? Where do you think that comes from? Just the repetition over time?
Yeah, I think just consistently putting in the miles, putting in the work, and consistency is the key. And that's I would say the biggest bonus about being a big guy is I'm quite durable, and I've had one major injury, and I tore my PCL at the end of 2008, and took 3 weeks off, and that was it. So other than that, like, I've had very uninterrupted training, and I think that's the talent that I possess, is to be able to just consistently work hard, and that's allowed me to have a very slow and consistent development over the years. So.
Yeah. We always say that you have a target pace for a season, right? And you become an expert in that, and then we move that up.
Yep.
Right. And now it's going to go a little faster, but it's increments, and it takes a long time.
Exactly.
So people that are trying to move the bar, 20 minutes in the marathon in one season, really tough to do. But 5 minutes, we can do that.
Well, I've always, anytime I talk to like high school kids or anything, I always kind of harp on goal setting, and I think it needs to be kind of a ladder of goal setting. Like, you got to have the top rung of what you want to do, like the ultimate goal. Like, if everything went perfect, but kind of seems impossible. But then in between, you have to have the things that, like, you can do. Like, you just have to put in the work, and you can do it. It can happen. And then you have to have the things that, like, all right, well, if this goes well, and then a few more things go well, this can happen. And then you just kind of have to be able to keep stepping up. And if sometimes you're able to skip a step on a ladder, and nothing's wrong, but sometimes you're gonna have to take like a step back, but you still have to be able to focus on that next rung and trying to climb to that next rung. Eventually, if everything goes right, you can get to the top of the ladder without falling off.
Yeah, there you go.
So
that's good advice.
Yeah, it's what I try to tell kids, because that's the philosophy I've always had. Because when I started running, I was second. I remember my first year in track, I was second to last in the middle school mile conference championships. And I wasn't great starting off. Like, it took a lot of work, and once I figured out how to set goals and work towards those goals and get excited about the little steps along the way, and even be disappointed in the things that I missed, but then be like, all right, well, I'm gonna bury that one because I'm going to the next one. And I would say I'm a living testament to, because like I said, I didn't start out lighting the world on fire, but just through consistent hard work, I've gotten to a point now where I wanted to be, but I never, a lot of things had to go right for me here, and including overcoming a lot of disappointment. And it's cliche, but it's how you get back up after falling down that defines the character and allows you to find success. And I hope that I'm living proof of that, because I've had a lot of success, but the downs I've had have been pretty big downs, and I've been able to rebound off those and become stronger.
That's great. Well, we wish you luck in your training this season and in the future. We hope you make it to the Olympics and bring home a medal, maybe.
Hopefully,
that'd be cool.
That's the mission. That's one of those upper rungs.
We will remember Chris Wynn. Our brush with greatness.
Yeah.
So, Chris, thank you for being with us, and everybody, we hope you enjoyed this conversation, and I think it would be great to have you back sometime, because you're a real fun guy to talk to, and I'm sure people are going to really like this. No, and we love that. We love that. So that's it for now from Chris's bench, and we will be back with another gripping episode next week. Thanks for joining us today.